everyone wants to start some business on their own, whether it's a 18, 20-year-old kid who is just graduating from a school or a college.
Made money in their lives, done some investments, which are your traditional mutual funds, real estate, come out of it, want to do something beyond.
As a startup, my biggest challenge is starting from the office boy to the boss of the place. I'm the one who does most of the things.
That is where all the more reason why franchising, the process of franchisee pickup should be more scientific.
Tomorrow, if I get a good funding group, which has a fantastic board.
The entrepreneurship is on high. People want to look at more and more franchising opportunities for their additional investment.
People like you who specialize in, say, as a CFA with your vast experience, how to get the right kind of a fund.
Franchising is not just about distribution. It's about capital innovation. It's about scalable entrepreneurship.
This is the reason why I should choose a fund more than just the money is coming in.
There is a huge dearth of how this professionalism should meet the industry requirements.
Ethical brands, ethical franchisees would come and would exchange their ideas.
It has got the product, it's got the people, it's got the processes. It's a combination of this product, people, processes. Are you capable of becoming a franchisor?
Every day there are hundreds of new ideas coming up from this space.
I am growing with someone else's capital. I am growing with a set of entrepreneurs.
What are the parameters you consider in valuating my brand, saying it's a 100 crore brand or 1,000 crore brand? How do you reach at the right valuation? Hi folks, welcome again to yet another episode of Jumpy Talks. Today, the person who's here, I would say is, and this particular podcast is now and in the future going to be one of the most interesting and most required person and a concept which we are going to talk today. See, I've known this gentleman since the last 4 to 5 years. We met through a common friend who owns one of the largest energy companies in India. There are 3 things which I found really interesting and really good about him. First and foremost is, given a chance, I would like to conduct the business in which he conducts his own company or runs his own organization. He is, I would say, spot on in the way he organizes his office, he organizes his team, the way he has been scaling up his business. And he's going to talk more about himself, but I really like the way in which he conducts his business. That's, I think, probably one of the main reasons for what he is today. He is, I would say, in his particular segment, he is one of the topmost people in India today. Second, what I like about him is the space from where he is working currently. He is sitting in a place called T-Hub in Hyderabad, which is like a hub for innovation and hub for people like you who are either brands or investors or young entrepreneurs who are trying to scale up their businesses, start new businesses. Every day there are hundreds of new ideas coming up from this space. And in fact, he also was involved, and there are companies who are sending satellites into orbit from working from these kind of a location. That's the second reason why he's a very interesting person to meet or talk to. And the third and most important reason why he is the most interesting person for all of you would be, I think he is the money man. So he has a lot of money. He has funded a lot of people. And he is into the space of funding for various companies and various brands. I do not know whether he wants to talk about the names, but some of the biggest names in India, he's been getting equity for them, I think for some of them he's been getting debt for them. So I would like to welcome you to this show. His name is Mr. Kalyan Shivalanka, and he is an MBA and he is a CFA. And with this, I would like to welcome Mr. Kalyan. And Mr. Kalyan, welcome to this show.
Thank you.
And just to give you a brief to the people who are listening to this, as you are aware, since the last 30 years, we have been into franchise and retail consulting. We have done more than hundreds of brands. We have got them investors, we have got them franchisees, some of the topmost brands, or I would say almost all the top brands in the country, whether national or international brands, whether it's a multiplex chain or a retail chain or an F&B chain. We have either got a property for them or a franchisee for them. We have created this platform so wherein all the people associated with a particular business activity, predominantly, I would say in the franchising space, would come, talk about their brands. Today, hundreds of brands all over the country who are looking for like minded and good investors. And at the same time, there are today, everyone wants to start some business on their own, whether it's a 18, 20-year-old kid who is just graduating from a school or a college, or it's a 60-year-old person who is having his own business. He wants to start some part-time business, who is getting close to retirement. He wants to do something on his own, or it's a woman entrepreneur who has a fantastic concept wherein she was restricted in a lot of things in the past which are no longer there. So she wants to spread away her company. India wide or probably worldwide is the platform at which they are looking at. We want to be that platform where all these people meet, and they would also be allied service providers, like it could be an interior decorator, it could be a software solution for that particular industry, whether it's food or garments or any other industry which is into franchising. So we are a platform where all these people come, talk to each other, exchange ideas. Like something like your T Hub is a platform where so many people are doing such a good work. In our small way, we wanted to be the franchising hub, I would say, for India, wherein ethical brands, ethical franchisees would come and would exchange their ideas. Now, I would request you more to talk about your profile, what you have done, from where you have scaled up your business, what you're currently doing, and in particular, I would like to you to tell to the audience like uh, two, three things. One, if you are a brand, first of all, personally, if you ask me, um, if I'm a brand, do I really franchise? Is it only, see, what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are certain stages in which, or there are certain categories or brands which I think they're better off not franchising at that point of time. Early stage, if you get investments, you have to disinvest a lot of your stake. So, what is the right time for a brand to franchise themselves? And more than the money, what I feel the most important requirement in choosing the right franchisee, I would say, if you ask what is the number one thing, personally for me, it would be the wavelength. Unless the wavelength of the franchisee and the franchisor matches, there's no point selecting a franchise and giving it just for the sake of giving it. Also, expanding in a hub and spoke model, or I would say in a way cannibalizing one market and moving on to the other, is that the better way of doing it? I want your, because you have helped a lot of people to get funding, whether it's a VC funding or a HNI funding, or what are the different types of fundings available? How do you evaluate a brand? How do you do a valuation? Say, I have a restaurant which I've been running 10, 15 years. I want to franchise this thing. I approach you. So, what is my brand value today? Is it based on my top line or my bottom line or my net number of units I have, number of cities I am in? What are the parameters you consider in valuating my brand, saying it's a 100 crore brand or 1,000 crore brand? What is the, how do you reach at the right valuation? These are the some of the inputs I would request you to tell to the audience so who are looking at this. Now, also for a franchisee, if he wants to pick up a franchise brand, what are the general scenario of debt funding nowadays or things like that? So if you can just throw some light on this, and welcome to the show, and the
Sure,
stage is all yours. You can
sure,
start
sure.
off.
Thank you so much. Um,
Pleasure is mine.
and firstly, I want to thank you for making me part of this show. And before that, many congratulations on this venture. I think this is very topical. This is very timely. I think what I believe is India is going through an unprecedented growth stage where I think at one point of time, India was largely an unbranded economy. I think over the last 20 years or so, a lot of brands have come up. And when I say brands, what I mean is brands people can trust, a set of characteristics that a brand speaks for itself. And now it's coming of the age that all these brands need to disrupt is one aspect. But then again, for me particularly, it's very interesting, which I will share a bit more. And hence, I think this is very interesting, and I'm really thankful to you for having me on this show. A bit of quick introduction about myself. I've been a career banker, I think almost now 23, 24 years in banking. I worked with corporate banks like Citibank, HDFC, Kotak before founding Springforth Capital in 2011-12 timeframe. And ever since, we have been focusing as a mid-market focused investment banking firm in the sectors of uh, life sciences, logistics, consumer, and of late we also been working on the manufacturing, which is of course the new age sunrise sector. And of course now we have a full-fledged team which is independent, autopilot, and now I manage another venture capital fund. Right, so that's been a bit of my background. As you said, I've done my MBA from Usman University campus, and I'm a CFA charter holder from CFA Institute, US. Some of these have greatly added to my academic thinking to bring investments to and apply some of these concepts to the real world, because investment, as the old adage goes, it's both a science and an art, and it's very important. And I'm mentioning that also in the context of how franchising is an artistic way of providing capital to a larger franchisor, right? So I think franchising has always been having an ability to provide a very unique way of capital to some of the larger brands. I believe so because it's very non-dilutive in nature. It provides capital to the system, to the entire ecosystem. It propels growth. It propels distribution. It brings capital. And more importantly, your growth is happening not through a set of your company hired employees who need to be driven, rather than a set of entrepreneurs who by themselves are self-motivated and driven.
Adding to it with their local expertise.
With their local expertise. So it is coming from their own vision, which is a shared vision with the franchisor.
True.
So that makes the whole vector very different than you wanting to open your own branches and grow. Because there, the person has skin in the game. He has his own vision there. It avoids all the overheads. You need minimal supervision, and that works great. Now, there's also another inherent characteristic of franchising, which makes the whole model highly capital efficient. Besides the factors that I mentioned, is there's always a mortality in any growth.
Sure.
Whether you grow by yourself, by opening your own centers, or you grow through franchising. Now, this gets absorbed by the franchisees and not by the parent company. You grow, you have a playbook, you have a system you set up there, and you continuously add value to this whole franchising model, and then it also absorbs any potential volatility that happens in any growth. And hence, I believe investors have been and will increasingly like those models which has got a large franchising concept to it, or an angle to it. Like you mentioned, some of the large transactions we did, I can't take the names, but of course they're in public domain. But what we had done in the past is not just in the areas of food, fashion, wellness, which are obvious franchisable models, but also in the areas of logistics. I mean, it's been of course a proven and tested model, but I think the industry needs more of it, because by definition, logistics is all about distribution. When you want to distribute, when you want to scale, franchising is a sure shot secret sauce for somebody to do, but somebody needs to crack it. It's not easy. Franchising needs a lot of inspiration, because it's a package. A franchisee always needs to be inspired by the franchisor. He can't be run through systems and processes. He needs more of touch. He needs more of trust. he needs more of confidence, he needs more agility, he needs, even if you're a large corporate, you still need to solve the problems then and there itself. Your system should be capable of that. And hence franchising comes with its own, I wouldn't say challenges, but it comes with its own unique model. So a large corporate, when it creates a playbook, it's very important that it has a playbook ready to franchise. See, today a lot of franchising happens more by chance, more by default, and little by design. And hence it's very erratic today, unfortunately. But I think, and hence I'm saying, professional players, advisors, intermediaries like you can add immense value to this whole ecosystem, because a playbook is not plug and play. A playbook gives how you need to franchise, but it's not automatically plug and play. The whole scaling up process needs a lot more detailing, like you mentioned, who is the architect, whether there's consistency in design, whether there's consistency in delivery, whether are you on top of the things, technology, accounting, and the sharp edge of all this process being whether the franchisee is making money or not. Once that is done, a profitable franchisee itself is a proof that you are a great franchisor and your playbook is working. And that is made possible only through a set of professionals who can think through that franchising culture. So, and hence it's important that somebody needs to help this playbook get plugged and played.
Thanks, Mr. Kalyan. That was informative. Now, I have a query. Let's assume I have a brand. Equity is a better option, or growing through a franchise route is a better option? Because if I'm going in an equity mode, I have the entire controls, I have my own process, I have my own teams, I'll scale it up, my valuations, my top line is better, and my bottom line could be better because I'm not sharing my profits with someone else. At the same time, franchising has its own advantages where I can scale it up faster, easier, and all. So, what would be an ideal solution for any brand?
Great question, actually. I think it's very important for somebody to make these conscious calls from time to time, which people don't do by design. See, the answer lies in a combination of factors. First, how much ready are you to go and franchise out? Once the company product is ready, your playbook is in place, you have done some piloting, which is very important for any rollout, and if you think you are ready to franchise, your playbook can be played out, you have to surely go for franchising. That said, equity has got an additional role to play. Well, definitely franchisee-based capital non-dilutive funding is substitute in a way to the equity, which is dilutive in nature. But when you're going on a larger rollout, we should not forget that it's partnership, it's partnering. So while the overheads are less, but we are actually looking at a much faster rollout, and hence your entire control center should be ready before you go out on the franchisee, and it absorbs a lot of capital. And mind you, the nature of capital is such that it is risk capital. Now I'm using this and getting into the area of whether as a brand you can go for equity or whether you can go for debt. There are certain specific areas where equity is applicable, there are certain specific areas where debt is applicable. In the areas where there is a short-term cash flow visibility, for example, you can go for debt. But when you are getting into a new market, when you're getting into a new product, when there's an element of uncertainty involved, equity is much better source of capital. So even when somebody is going for franchising, a lot of times you need to make sure that you're not undercapitalized. Your runway doesn't get stopped half the way. So it's very important that you should have equity also ready at the time when you're going for the franchising. Now franchising obviously will provide a lot of capital, right? To start with your franchisee fee, your inventory, so if you're setting up a store, you charge X amount of money. Out of that, there's a certain percentage which actually can come in as your income, as like how you charge as a franchisee fee. Besides, for the inventory, for the capital expenditure that is needed, the franchisee provides the capital. Once you have a set of franchisees in place, even you can start supply chain financing, get into the system. So one should look at it, the franchising, not just as a distribution, but as a source of capital innovation and also scalable entrepreneurship. So then it's your decision of whether you should go for equity, debt, or franchisee-led capital infusion, or a combination of all these things, which is mostly the case. That's essentially how one should comprehensively look at a capital market program rather than looking at it in isolation.
So, I think what you're saying is it should be a healthy mix of equity-led stores and franchise-led stores, probably in whatever ratio is ideal for that my particular brand or my particular category at that point of time is what.
Yeah, obviously, right? PC, for example, you need to show that value to a franchisee, which the franchisee by themselves cannot create, right? So your branding ability should be higher, your consistency should be there, your quality should be ensured, and then on such a large scale, there will always be some growth related challenges. You should have that cushion available with you to absorb, which a franchisee cannot.
True that. That's interesting. Now, though it's more about equity-based thing, one or two queries I want to ask you before jumping into the actual franchise scenarios. What is the valuation methodology you use while valuating my brand? With my limited knowledge of accounting, I understand there's a discounted cash flow methodology you use, or how do you evaluate a particular brand at any point of time? Is it the number of outlets they have, number of cities they are in, the top line, the bottom line, a certain 4x of your top, what I heard is 4x of your bottom line, or 8 to 12x of your top line.
Sure.
So how do you evaluate a brand?
Sure. See, while there is no one answer that fits all, but I'll just touch upon some of the basic principles. To start with, how does a top line of a company gets calculated? For a company which has got both COCO, company-owned, company-operated outlets, and franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated, or sometimes it can be franchisee-owned, company-operated, or the other way around, which is company-owned but franchisee-operated. Now, irrespective of all this, so there is certain what we call quality of earnings that investors would give a higher weightage to company-owned, company-operated, where your capex has gone, your investment has gone, the operations are under your control. And then there is franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated part of it. How much of the franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated? So this is not like a binary answer. So I'm just taking a minute to explain.
Got it.
Your franchisee-owned, franchisee-operated outlets, the quality of them much depends on how much as a company you have control on them. There are franchisees where right from the product to the paper napkin comes from the franchisor. So you have complete control. There are SOPs in place, there are audits that happen, you have controls. Every activity practically happens, get captured in your system. So they are obviously high quality earnings. So one may be tempted to say that, look, my top line is my street value, irrespective of whether it happens in my store or whether it happens in the franchisee store. There the top line is considered as high quality. But where the controls are limited or diluted, either by design or by default. Design is easier because you know that you know what you're doing. So you, for example, say that, look, I will probably decide the design and the product that gets into it. You can hire, you can innovate, you can sell other products, you can, but 90%. So if this is all through an understanding and agreement, it's still a better thing. Where things just happen by default. So I'm just using the, your name, but I'm 50% of things I do what I want to do, but I'll never even report to the franchisor. These talk about the limited controls that the franchisor have on franchising. There, the way one calculates the revenue is, hey, look, your company-owned, company-operated portion is X. Here you get a royalty out of it. Only to that extent I will consider that this is quality earnings, so long as they see some persistence. But if there is too much of volatility, one year it goes up, the other year it comes down, investors are not very comfortable with it. Franchising is great, but it comes with its own pros and cons. So this is top line. And from a bottom line perspective, how not only franchisee-led models, which of course we'll specifically discuss, but in general, whether somebody gets a 4x of a top line, which is a very good valuation, is dependent on how ready a company is to scale. It's not just about how much profitability they are doing today. We have seen ample examples in the market. People still, can't decipher why some of the companies which are loss-making get such high valuations and profitable companies don't get. And there's a very, very, very common concern, particularly in the businesses which are franchisable. Somebody using technology, new age playbooks have been able to scale faster and hence getting higher valuation. So that's very important. How scalable your company is. There are various stages of evolution of a company. You start with a product, then you evolve into a sales unit, then you become a business unit, then you become an organization, and then you become an investor-friendly organization. This is how the value chain keeps increasing as one evolves. So it's very important to understand what stage one is. A lot of these successful companies, Wow Momo, Lenskart, these are the guys who have raised big money at big valuations. And there are a lot of competitors who do things in not such a scalable aspect. See, it's not just about online versus offline. Okay, I want to make this point particularly pertinent to this show because definitely technology and online movement, delivery, these have clearly disrupted the way businesses get done. There's no question. Particularly today on this show, when we're talking about franchising and offline, it's widely recognized that things are omni-channel, right? So you need an online and offline. Maybe you at some point of time may even talk about online franchising, etc. But I'm saying it's not just about online or offline. It's about the scalability. Whether it has got the product, it's got the people, it's got the processes. It's a combination of this product, people, processes. Are you capable of becoming a franchisor? Is what drives your valuation. And other things being equal, I can tell you with absolute confidence that a organically growing brand versus a franchisee-led brand, a franchisee-led brand will always have a higher valuation, other things being equal.
I thought it was the other way around.
It has to be. Maybe today it is, but intuitively if you think about it, I am growing with someone else's capital. I am growing with a set of entrepreneurs. I am growing in a model which is de-risked, which is more capital efficient, and hence my model has to be more valuable. And of course, we have also seen, but today, when I say it's not the case yet, it's already the case in a lot of cases, right? You look at master franchises, Burger Kings, Domino's, and what are they? They're all
Devyani
Foods. They're all master franchises, and they've cracked the franchising model, right? So that's what I would say on how the valuation gets into some of these things. And again, DCF, to get back to and close it on a scientific note, you're right. At some point of time, it has to come to brass tacks as to how much of a cash flow a particular business can generate. And naturally, franchisee royalties and fees that you charge from them is definitely adds to bottom line and cash flows, and that should add up obviously. You have a X amount of capital generating a certain amount of bottom line, end of the cash flow, and a lesser amount of capital generating a different cash flow maybe, is what it should add up to when you do a franchisee versus non-franchisee, and DCF has to prevail at some point of time. Of course, valuations, how much, what goes in a negotiation, on a negotiation table and a deal room is a different art, but at some point of time, all these things should add up into cash flows.
Interesting. And one more thing which I would like you to throw a light upon is, I hear stages of funding called as Series A, Series B, Series C funding. Just could you quickly throw a light on what all these mean, and from what I understand, a person who enters into equity in an early stage takes a larger percentage of your company equity. So let's assume he,
typically.
just as an example, I'm saying, if he invests 10 crores in an early stage where his risk is more,
Yeah,
probably he'll take 40% of equity in your company if your company is valued at a certain amount. But once it grows the ladder, series A, B, C, that 10%, that 40 crores could probably be only a 5 or a 10% of your whole
sure.
game. So quickly, can you throw a light on how this works?
I think you have mentioned it right. So it's a function of the risk. The uncertainty of the business keeps decreasing as it progresses. Now, why? Because it starts at a idea level, it gets into some proof of concept, then it gets into the early market testing, then it goes to the entry, early growth, late growth. So at each stage, more and more consistency gets built in the way you conduct your operations, how you respond to the competition, how you respond to your general operational challenges, whether you are able to retain people. So the systems start getting matured. The people start getting aged in the system with good institutional memory. So these are all the things which will naturally keep reducing your risks as you grow, and hence the value of the company goes up. Naturally, there are a lot of investors who have the ability to understand an investment through an artistic mode, because it can't be everything data driven at the initial stage. I don't have a lot of track record to check whether this business is going to be successful. As against a late stage investment, which shows, hey, look, this guy has been behaving, this organization has been behaving in a certain manner in last 3-4 years, and industry has been behaving during the same period in a different way or maybe similar way, and hence I can form an opinion as to how this business will do. So my evaluation criteria is different. The risks that I undertake are different. For example, in an early stage company, the risk I undertake is a business model risk, meaning whether this business model itself will work or not, I don't know, but I'm assuming that risk and putting money, and hence I want a higher return. At a later stage, my risk is scalability risk. Business is working, but I don't know whether it will scale or not. That's a different risk compared with my original stage risk. Then at a certain stage, it may be a key man risk. Initial stages, my entire investment is dependent on an individual's behavior, thinking, abilities, so on and so forth. But as the company grows, it's no more a key man risk. It's maybe a set of people, their processes, systems, that related risk. Sometimes it can be market risk, because the company may be in a particular sector which is undergoing certain changes, maybe regulatory, cultural, consumer behavior shift. So as an investor, you need to understand what are different types of risks, and it also depends on the investor, whether the investor has the ability to underwrite that risk.
Sure.
So if I can manage a risk, I underwrite that risk and I want to get paid because I'm able to manage it. But if I can't, I only mitigate it.
Sure.
By saying that, hey, so, and hence all these things will come. Hey, look, I don't think if you can't perform, I can perform. So my immediate requirement is that in next 6 months or 1 year, you need to have a co-founder. For example, a strategic guy may not have that requirement. He'll say that, look, I know how to run this business, but I want somebody to run this business, and who better than you, so you be around. But that doesn't mean that if you can't, I can't pull up my sleeves tomorrow, hire somebody and run it. To an extent, it is possible. But obviously, founder-led business is always a founder-led business, and it has that premium. But I'm saying there is still a portion of it which can be managed. So my point is, all these different stages, series A, B, C, etc., have they come with own set of risk and return metrics through which one evaluates and takes a decision. Obviously, as the stage progresses and progresses good, the risks level come down, and hence the value of the company goes up, and your ability. So it boils down to the investor, what kind of risk one wants to issue.
One more very valid point you added to this is the board which comes in should be the main. If I am a brand, which is a good brand, I want to go the equity route. If I had an option to choose between a fund A and a fund B, I think apart from the amount of the valuation, the amount of money which I am getting, and all these, the team which is coming along with them should be one of the main reasons why I think I should choose a particular fund. Correct me if I'm
Absolutely.
wrong,
Absolutely.
because today, as a even I'm a single. I would say I've started multiple companies, some of which have succeeded, some of which have failed. Uh, as a startup, my biggest challenge is starting from the office boy to the boss of the place. I'm the one who does most of the things. Tomorrow, I do my financial, I do my HR, I do my, I would say, I would do my innovation, I would do my R&D, I would do everything in my company. But tomorrow, if I get a good funding group which has a fantastic board, people like you who specialize in, say, as a CFA with your vast experience, how to get the right kind of a funds, probably a HR team which comes in and gets me the right kind of a people. This is the reason why I should choose a fund more than just the money is coming in, is what I feel, which was one of the very important points I think which you just touched about. Can you quickly talk about some names who are into this funding space and who are doing very well in India? Like, if I heard correctly, Blackstone is a fund which has come into India and have funded a lot of things. Some good funds which are there in India which are looking at good opportunities in India
Yeah,
currently.
sure. So the funding scenario in India, right? So it's maturing. Particularly the domestic capital is maturing, and that's a great news for entrepreneurs. Uh, on the point that you mentioned earlier, right? So if I have to choose from one fund over the other fund, which one should I? A lot of people listening to this podcast would probably think that, hey, what are we even talking? We are struggling to get the capital, and here is it like utopian to say that I've got multiple people to choose from and I can choose one over the other? But that's quite possible, provided you start implementing a capital market program in your firm, the thinking in your mind, and hence you don't chase the capital, but you're building a system that is also capital friendly. And it can happen without compromising any of your core ethos of, people would mistake that the only way to be capital friendly and create profits is by cutting corners and cutting short on service levels, product and quality. No, I mean, if you look at any of the, so if you build a capital market thinking in the way you conduct, then obviously you will be in a scenario where you can choose multiple you can choose from multiple options that you can have, and capital then becomes a very natural process of fundraising rather than one has to chase for it. Now, coming to the sources of funding, right? As I said, the good news is that domestic capital is maturing quite a bit. Family offices, people who have got exits from the larger private equity firms, they are sitting on good piles of capital, and they love particularly retail because it's understandable relatively compared with some of the deep tech and themes like that. And they can also add value because they've got good connections, they've done businesses, they can bring some real value addition, like you said, beyond just capital. They can come and add a lot of value to this whole process in various ways. Sometimes they can bring connections, sometimes they can help you scale, sometimes they can help you put systems, processes in place to choose, not to choose, is still can be an option, flexibility to, because they are themselves entrepreneurs, they're themselves businessmen. So that's one great source of capital. And there are some really good ex-operators, ex-managers who have set up funds which have helped some of the brands scale up, right? There are many examples. Fireside Ventures, CX Partners, Exponentia, uh, Multiples. There are a lot of them. In fact, a lot of respectable venture capitalists, of course, Peak XV, Sequoias are obviously the well-reputed known names. but there are a lot of people who understand the space and are committed to it. End of the day, uh, typically sector agnostic funds uh, typically end up liking retail because it's about consumption. It's about betting on the large consumption story of India. Today morning in the Economic Times, on the main page, you have that global CEOs have one big bet. I think the headline goes like 15 CEOs, one big bet kind of a thing. And all of them want to enter India because of the large demographic dividend, growing population, investments, capital
Growing
level.
consumerism.
End of it, everything leading to growing consumerism. And we have seen it all in last 20, 25 years. No one would have believed that you spend.
Theobrahma, as an example,
Theobrahma is a great
the way they
example.
scaled it up and the kind of equity they got in. And since you are mentioning about India-based investors and India-based family businesses and India-based people who have been there, done it, got money, now looking at investing, one fantastic gentleman whom I really like and I've been following is Nikhil Kamath.
Yeah, of course.
The way he is
Yeah.
funding companies, the way he is. I know one of the coffee shops which he has funded recently. The way he transformed the entire business
Yeah.
model of that coffee shop and the way it's been growing.
Yeah.
Amazing what people like him. I know another family fund from Hyderabad, though I don't want to mention those names, who have been been into funding into a lot of spaces. And if you remember, you and me met in the same place a couple of months back, and in our small way, we were trying to find some good companies
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
we could ourselves try to invest and
Sure.
scale up those businesses. Not only about money, as we
Yeah.
talked earlier, about our inherent strengths we
Yeah.
have as a collective organization. One of the persons sitting over there was a person who disinvested his company and
Correct.
made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And his expertise in running his particular retail business, how he could be a part of it. This lady who again came and
Yeah. So
she had a
so again,
whole.
that's another big ecosystem, right? The incubators, the venture studios is one. But before that, I mean, talking about the funds that you're talking about, like family offices, and nowadays even family offices are committing a lot of capital to the professionally run private equity firms. I know a couple of large private equity firms which almost entirely are endorsed by Indian family offices because the kind of track record and reputation they come from. For example, TVS Capital is a great example of how a lot of Indian family offices kind of look at it like one of the go-to places to put money. Singularity is again another private equity or asset management company which is coming up, and there are many. Kedara. There are a lot of private equity firms today, particularly in the consumer space. Good companies can tap into, and the entire value chain there, right? So how you asked me Series A, Series B. So there are different kinds of investors again. So the people at angel level, like you mentioned, or pre-seed level also, venture studios, like what we ourselves were kind of trying to do. Then there are a lot of venture studios. There are incubators. Governments have, central government has supported a lot of incubation centers like Atal Incubation Center. There are various types of funding that gets through these like seed funds, Nidhi. So the multiple programs and schemes that central government has announced to support the early stage ecosystem. Then you move to the angel networks, which themselves have funded. Then you move to family or individual large HNIs, and then family office. All these people have provided capital, can provide capital, and will continue to provide capital, I believe. And then you have got the structured AIFs, the venture capital funds, private equity funds, which can double down on some of these bets. So I think there are a lot of funds. The good news is that which the entrepreneurs can tap into.
I think this is the right time for a brand to grow, not only because of the India growth story, not only because of the various funding options available, but because today I think post COVID we see a sea of change in way things businesses have been running and businesses the confidence levels I think just boosted up whatever be the reason about the country or be the whole world wants to be in India today.
Yes.
You name the brand, they are in India. If not, they want to be in India today.
Sure.
And Indian brands also, I love the way they have been scaling up and
Absolutely.
going global. I would say
Yeah.
we have Araku coffee in Europe
Yeah.
and so many examples. We have in fact, today we're doing another shoot with a guy. This guy is into pashminas, and we are looking at scaling him up to Europe and US and other parts of the world. So I think what's happening is something really interesting, because of which I think we feel we have started this also at the right time,
Absolutely.
where we know there's so many interesting concepts and brands who are scaling it up, and
I
we
think there is immense wind under the wings so far as franchising is concerned, both in domestic as well as overseas. See, today if you look at some of the entrepreneurship is on high. People want to look at more and more franchising opportunities for their additional investment. Look at the demographics, right? You got people who are not yet retired, have made good money, but don't want to take high risk because given their stage and their experience, they've been like, you know, techies, tech entrepreneurs, people in, people who have made money in their lives, done some investments, which are your traditional mutual funds, real estate, come out of it, want to do something beyond. Like some of the examples you gave, it can be a spouse, a woman, a wife who is coming back to the career but don't want to restart where she left, as an example, or people who are done with their regular, corporate 9 to 5 job but want to come out and then do something, but they don't want to risk it all. They want something which has some head start, a proven model they want to get into. If you look at the scenario abroad, it's even more lucrative, if you ask me. Some of the things which are providing tailwinds to this is the, what's happening in IT sector in US, for example. These are the people who have settled there 20 years, 30 years. Some of them are citizens, some of them are green card holders, some of them want to do there. They want to look and start, they're very open to inviting ideas which are particularly Indian to start franchising. I think countries like US, UK, Australia, Middle East, these are the people where Indian diaspora has additional risk capital, but something actively involving. It's not just a real estate investment, which is a passive investment, or a mutual fund investment, which is passive. They are looking at opportunities to take over Indian brands. It also connects them with the roots. It also expands their cultural aspirations within the society, within their community around. And they are wanting to take some of these brands which are popular in India abroad. So both in India and abroad, I think there is so many opportunities today to get good franchisees who are professionals and can bring that quality in your brand visibility.
Yep. Now, all this while we have been talking from a franchisor perspective or a brand perspective, how they could get funding and all. Another end of a spectrum would be ultimately, because we are talking more about retail brands and all, one of the most important spoke in the whole wheel is the property. The real estate owner, the real estate, whether it's a high street property, whether it's a mall. And in that, can you throw some quick light onto the funding for real estate per se? I think one of the, this is DLF malls in Delhi, had the first REIT coming in, and which has been quite successful. So what's your call on real estate funding, and what's the scenario happening in India in terms of equity or debt? Or
Okay, so real estate funding by itself, let us touch upon a couple of minutes. With of course, it's all tied up to the brands and the ability to sell. I guess we are talking about the retail real estate, right? Or we're talking about retail real estate, yeah. So not the corporate, not the residential. So retail real estate, yeah. So retail real estate today funding, like any commercial real estate, happens at various phases. I think the quality of the funding keeps going up as the retail real estate starts realizing. When I say realizing, I mean its ability to attract quality brands to it. And hence this whole ecosystem is so intertwined. In order to make a retail real estate more valuable, it's all the more important to get more and more quality brands setup into those floors. That's very important aspect to it.
Yes, it was Nexus who invested
Nexus.
into.
Okay, sure. So so people like Nexus, people like Blackstone will be very interested and feel it more and more uh, rewarding from a risk-return perspective. Once a retail space has the ability to attract bigger brands, good brands, which has got the ability to pay them on a consistent basis, which can attract better footfall, so on and so forth. So all those dynamics work. Once that happens, it starts behaving like what you mentioned, the REITs. REITs is definitely a new innovative way of doing funding and providing capital to real estate again. It basically helps a particular property to get listed as an investment trust and helps more and more people participate in the process. It provides more liquidity, it provides better pricing, because once you have a varied set of investors with varied return requirements, so that means that the price gets discovered in a better manner.
True.
So if there's only one set of investors who wants, let's say, 10% return out of it, his price is constant. But if there are 50 people, that means the demand is more and people are okay, let's say, with not 10% but 9% or 8%. That means the price of that particular instrument or the REIT goes up. So any innovation in the way some of these financial instruments which are real estate backed goes to the market, I think that means you are able to raise capital at a lower cost. So retail obviously is riskier compared with let's say a typical corporate single floor, single tenant, etc. But I think what is also happening, and people are still testing and trying those models, but what is also happening, and definitely by some of the large players, is they're getting also into hybrid models of revenue, a rental and a revenue share combinations, for example. These are all the things which are, of course, yet to find a proper persistent pattern to be, kind of bucketed and said, look, these are the kind of returns one can consistently get out of this. But at an individual level, there are many opportunities available.
Interesting. And also now, since we are almost towards the closing of the podcast, I would like you to give, if in a one sentence or probably in a couple of words, what is the advice you would like to give to a franchisor? To a franchisee, because till now we have been talking all about and mostly about a franchisor perspective, more on a equity perspective, more than a franchising perspective. Also, we've been talking more about the real estate guys, but we haven't touched the franchisee till now. So, from a franchisee perspective, what should be I would say, the tick marks they should have while choosing the brand? I know you are behind Hyderabad Angels. Can you quickly talk about what you do? What is Hyderabad Angels and what role you play over there? And the final advice to franchisor, franchisee, real estate owners, and the fourth category I would say who are looking are allied service providers like interior decorators, software service providers for retail.
So Hyderabad Angels Fund, which is of course a different entity from Hyderabad Angels Network, where of course we have a very strong association with between both the firms, and of course Hyderabad Angels Network is one of the or the members are one of the key contributors to the fund and etc. But the fund that I manage as a managing partner is a 100 crore fund where we invest in the early stage companies, where we typically want to do a kind of a Series A, Series B, alongside with some of the prominent venture capitalists at a stage where there is enough visibility on the revenue and preferably a strong visibility on the profitability as well. So typically we do anywhere between 250K to 500K rounds, and with the co-investment we can go
USD.
USD, yeah, USD, $250,000 to $500,000. That's about
Three to five
crores, and then we can go up to $1 million easily with our co-investment getting added to it. So again, typically for companies at that stage, typically it's either a product or a brand because it's at an early growth stage, and that's what we typically like. We have done our first investment a couple of weeks back in a gaming tech company. We'll be announcing that soon, but we have done our first investment. We are evaluating a few more right now, and hopefully we'll be having one more deal going in a month or so. So that's so far as, and of course we are looking for good opportunities to invest into. So we have got a strong team out there. I would say probably a very fine set of investment professionals who understand the early stage space. My partner Ratnakar, and then we have got a team of qualified people, both on the deal evaluation, on compliance, and investor outreach, other ecosystem outreach. So looking forward to kind of provide some good returns to our investors, and also eventually evolve into a go-to place so far as Hyderabad investor community and investment ecosystem is concerned, for people to look to us when they want to look at some of the early stage investments. So we're working towards that. So that's so far as Hyderabad Angels Fund is concerned. On your other question on what should a franchisee typically look at? See, today, as I was mentioning earlier, most of the franchising is happening more by default than design. And I know very closely some of the very prominent $100 million top line companies where a lot of franchising happened more by default than design, even for some of the large formats. I mean, these are some of, like I was mentioning you a little earlier, these are not bad case studies, but these are case studies of bad franchising. The reason I'm saying that is because there's nothing wrong. That's how businesses grow. It's good to go back and say that, hey, look, this is not probably the way you should have done franchising in your, but that was the need of the hour. That's how the entrepreneur takes the call. And hence, I'm reiterating the fact that there is a very compelling need for professional players like you to come and take part in this franchising process. And people should take that professional help, because business has to be conducted professionally, particularly when the rubber meets the road in franchising. The reason I'm saying is franchisees, for most of them, it's an emotional decision. It's not really a professional decision. Like how I described a little while ago, a tech entrepreneur is coming out. He's taking a decision to take up a franchisee 50% due to emotional reasons. He doesn't know really whether he's going to make money. Has he done this in the past? No. But does he think he can make money in this? Yes. Why? It's an emotion. Right? So, and these people are also putting such amount of money. Look at franchises. Most of them commit such amount of capital for which they don't have emotion for.
True.
Most of them don't come and say, I have to make this happen. This is my life. They come and say, look, let me commit 1 crore of rupees. Let me commit 50 lakhs. Let me commit 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs, whatever that amount is. This is something they want to look at as either as an additional source of revenue or something they are okay even if they lose it. That is where all the more reason why franchising, the process of franchisee pickup should be more scientific. That I think should come from franchisor than franchisee. If there is a chicken and egg problem, franchisees will, and franchisor obviously is going to ride on that advantage of reaching out franchisees who are emotional, who are taking emotional decisions. That's what brings more capital efficiency for the company or the franchisor company. So I think for franchisees, it's important that they should look at it seriously as a proper source of income for them. P&L, they should commit. They should figure out their own way. Obviously, it's best if the owner of the franchisee itself sits on the counter. But sometimes it may happen, sometimes it may not happen. But you should definitely find a professional replacement. And product, your affinity to product, your ability to share the vision of the company and be aligned with it.
Very important.
And it's a push both ways. The real advantage a franchisee can give is he's also an entrepreneur like the company. It's not that the sales guy has to push him. He in turn should push the sales guy. I know a lot of franchisees, successful franchisees, who actually wine and dine with the sales guy to provide them with better incentives from the company, because they look at it as their own business.
Absolutely.
So they in turn sell to the company how good they are. And these are successful franchises. So I'm saying that once they start looking like an entrepreneur and don't do it purely for lifestyle reasons or purely for emotional reasons. Obviously, emotion is important. That's what differentiates a person from a regular, straitjacket thinking. But I think franchises should look at opportunities seriously like a business.
True that. So I think to sum it up, all viewers, whoever is watching this, I would request Mr. Kalyan, and in the future also, hopefully he would be coming in more and more shows of ours. I would take this opportunity and liberty to say he's more a friend than a business associate to me. We have shared some wonderful thoughts together. He's as passionate about his equity and funding line as I am about my franchising and my franchise thoughts. We genuinely want to do something good in what we are doing. That's why we are here today. And I would, as I said earlier, request him to come more and more often onto this thing, because he is, I would say, at least to an extent, I would probably use the word encyclopedia of what he is doing. That's why some of the topmost companies in India are approaching him for their funding requirements and various other things. And we'd be doing a lot of webinars in the future, so we probably some of them could be equity specific webinars, or where I would request you to come down, and any of these people want to be a part of that, they want to ask you any queries about this,
My honor, sure.
we should be able to answer them, to, I would say, guide them to the right path to choose, whether it's a franchisee or a franchisor or a real estate owner, whoever wants to be a part of this ecosystem. We want them to share their thoughts and share their ideas, and probably everyone collectively tries to prosper from this particular show or an opportunity. With this, I think thank you, Mr. Kalyan. I think it's been a wonderful time spending with you. I think 1 hour, 1.5 hours just flew for us like this, and hopefully we'll meet again pretty soon. And it's with help of people like you is what I think the Jumpy Talks show would grow. And this is just the beginning, and hopefully as we meet more often, you will keep seeing so many fantastic brands and so many hundreds and hundreds of investors coming onto this platform, and some of them, or if not most of them, would require guidance from people like you. So hopefully we'll keep talking more, and that's what Jumpy Talks is all about. So thank you very much, Mr. Kalyan, and thanks for the opportunity where you could probably say a goodbye to all our viewers, and any parting thoughts on this?
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. As I said again, this is very topical, and I'm honored. This surely aligns well with our core theme that businesses capital raising is not just about going to a private equity or a venture capitalist at that time. Models should incorporate the capital market thinking in the way they build their own system. And what I would surely say is franchising is not just about distribution. It's about capital innovation. It's about scalable entrepreneurship. And like I mentioned earlier, a playbook is not plug and play. It needs professionals like you to make it happen. And there is a huge dearth of how this professionalism should meet the industry requirements. And many congratulations, and I hope all the best for Jumpy Talks, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs will come and get benefited. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.